Welcome to Malin House in the morning. As you can probably see, we're moving. There are boxes everywhere. I'm usually the first one up in the house, so I like to get breakfast ready for everyone and kind of get things going. Great way to start the morning. How excited are you to move?
Really excited?
You sure?
Yes.
I can't tell.
You try getting up at 7 o'clock though.
That sounds like
So...
the worst life. What are you most excited about moving?
About getting more kids.
About getting more kids? Like having more brothers and sisters? That's a pretty good reason. We have a post-workout snack, cinnamon toast, and bananas. Oh yeah. And my weapon of choice is the wheat waffle with honey, granola, peanut butter, and raisins. Ooh. Ooh, that's some good coffee, but let's change clothes. Whew, much better. Much more comfortable. Now we can talk.
Today, we're talking about success, specifically music business success, but you can't really separate success into categories because they're really all intertwined into one lifestyle that is a successful lifestyle. 14 years ago, when I started my journey as a music composer, I wish I knew that success is a marathon and not a sprint. Young composers are notorious for pacing themselves very poorly. They rush to finish projects, they cram way too much on their schedule, they don't know how to say no, they create a lifestyle that is miserable. They push themselves too hard and the quality of their work suffers. Now, a lot of this is a result of inexperience, but also the result of not setting a long-term success plan, but rather trying to force success in the short term. When I married Natalie over 4 years ago, my pace of life completely changed. Up until that point, I had been single and I had been chasing after this dream of becoming a full-time music composer. I went to college for it, I got a master's for it, I even spent some time assisting other composers, and I was writing music all day long. I was writing music into the late hours, waking up early, working 16 hours a day, and pushing myself to my limits to grow in my craft. Now, hey, that was awesome for that time, but it was not sustainable. And the decisions I was making really had very little impact on the long-term plan of doing this full time. As soon as my responsibilities changed as a husband, introducing the extra weight and pressure of providing for family, that completely changed my mentality. That really placed fire underneath me to get this composition thing under control and to really start making recurring income every single month. I wanted to make my wife always feel special and always feel intentionally loved. And so I had to change my work hours. I couldn't work overnight anymore. I couldn't wake up super early because I had to have energy so that during my time frame that I was setting aside for the music business, I was going to pour everything into that time frame. Fast forward to about 1 year ago, we opened up our home to foster children. And that alone dramatically altered our schedule and our pace of life. We were now feeding babies every 3 hours. We were giving love and attention to older children. We had to become flexible and interruptible. And so figuring out how to pace your life when it's constantly changing is one of the hardest things we've ever had to do, but also one of the most rewarding things we've ever done, getting to experience that life change that happens in kids coming out of hard places. So if you haven't figured it out yet, family is my top priority, and so my schedule reflects that. Your pace of life will always be a direct reflection of what you value and what you place as a priority in your life. When I first started, I didn't have any fancy tools. I started with a laptop, a really bad one. And all I had to work with was basic MIDI in an old program called Noteworthy Composer. And I used that thing throughout high school. I used it to start writing some of my piano sketches and to write some orchestral tunes, because I absolutely loved film, I loved TV, I loved video games, I loved the music, the soundtracks. And so that was a way for me to just get started and to start this process. And I was really bad, honestly, but through working year after year after year and all of the experience and all of the failures and all of the progression throughout this time, there is a significant difference when you compare what I can do now versus back then, which I know is also true for you. Anyone who is just starting, you might feel like you might not be the greatest composer. Good, you're not. And so you will be though, in time. You have to work at it. So success never starts right at the beginning. You truly have to put the time in, put the work in over a long period of time. If you're gonna have a long-term successful career as a music composer, then you're gonna have to make sure that every minute in your studio counts. You should be actively working on something at all times. Don't waste time. You should probably also have a clean studio. Man, I'm so looking forward to moving. And with that nugget of wisdom, I'll see you next week in the new studio.